We're ready to rock and roll with Angus Young, but most importantly, with ACDC and all of you out there all across America. Josh the Watt Prop Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Ready to learn from all of these awesome leaders. Check them out. They're all here bringing their knowledge, their experience, and preparing for the 23-24 school year. So we're here and we need you. If you're watching this live, please comment. If you're watching it on the rebroadcast, like it and share it. We need you to spread the knowledge out every part of the world because we need to hear from you. You're very crucial to bring your experience, your tools to the table. So if you are in Alaska or Hawaii, whether you're in New York or Florida or anywhere in the 48 middle, you need you. We need you to join the show. What do you think about that, Mr. High School Principal Dean Packard?
Well, we share the same thing, high school principal and middle school principal and principal of all ages and sizes. Hey, everybody, my name is Dean Packard. One of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle. And Thursday nights are all about getting a little bit better together. And we are representing across the country once again with educational leaders that are going to bring ideas and suggestions. More importantly, things, the knowledge that they bring to the table just make us a little bit better. So it's great to have all of you here with us tonight. That being said, let's go around the horn really quickly. Introduce yourself, your school, kind of a little bit, just a little bit of background about yourself and what you do there. And let's have some fun with this. Let's start with Principal Clark up in the middle right next to me.
How did I know I was going to go first? I don't know.
Because you're a repeat on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm Principal Clark, and I am in Massachusetts. My school is Hooks Elementary School in the city of Chelsea, Massachusetts. I am an elementary school principal, grades 1 to 4, and I have just started my 27th year in education.
27th year, there's no way that's possible for you. I'm just looking at you saying, wow, that's good
Yay!
stuff.
You made my day.
It's great to have you back again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you. Assistant Principal Torres, you're up.
All right, I'm Beto Torres. I'm the loud and proud assistant principal at Uvalde High School in Uvalde, Texas. I'm entering my 8th year in education. I spent the first 3 years as a kindergarten teacher, the next 3 as an assistant principal at the junior high, and this last couple of years here at the high school. So born and raised in Uvalde and been glad to come back home.
Awesome. Great to have you with us tonight. Nadia.
Hi, everyone. Nadia de la Rosa. I am the principal at REL Washington International School in the Isleta Independent School District, El Paso, Texas.
Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us as well. And Justin.
Justin McMillan, principal at Quist Middle School and 27J in Colorado, 17th year as a principal. Before that, I was an assistant principal at the high school. Before that, I was a teacher. Before that, I was a coal miner and a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And I just couldn't be happier to be here. So let's rock and roll.
Touch all the bases. Welcome to the show, Justin. Josh Tovar, take it away.
So as leaders right now, you always had that inspiration behind you. So this is a two-part question. Number one, who inspired you to enter education? Let the people know out there. Who inspired you to enter education? And the second part of this question is, who currently motivates you as a leader? Someone that sits in that chair of yours, who motivates you? Nadia.
You know what? I just remember since I was little, I wanted to be a teacher. I taught my brother how to read. I just loved being a teacher. Who inspires me? Josh, our students inspire me. Sometimes you all know that we have to make some tough decisions, have some hard conversations with adults, and the people that inspire me to do that and to give me the courage and to do that are our students. We are here for them. So I feel that once of course we always put our teachers first. We take care of our teachers. I do believe in doing that, but I'm going into my 25th year in education, and we've all seen when leaders put their adult relationships before the kids, and that's when things start going south. And I think that when I start doing that, when I start putting the adults before the kids, and that's my time to leave the profession. So they're the ones that inspire me.
I love it. Thank you, Nadia. Appreciate that. Beto.
My third grade teacher, Miss Velma Moreno. I mean, she made me feel like the best, and I had a lot of awkward moments, and she made each one of them less awkward. And so I owe a lot to her. And she made me feel like I had a mom at home and at school with her there. So I'm grateful for her. And I mean, my philosophy is you can't put students first if you put teachers last. And so we got a growing shortage of teachers across the country and nation. And so, you know, the people that inspire me are the teachers in the classroom who are rocking and rolling. And we've gone through a lot. I mean, COVID-19 wasn't easy. And so those who come back, we're glad you're back. Keep along with us on the ride. So those are the people that inspire me and keep me going.
Justin.
The reason why I got into education is my father, Mike McMillan. He was 44 years in education. So I'm on year 24, which means I got 20 more years to rock and roll. So 44 years in education, impacting kids at the same time he was running a ranch at the same time. So just how do you make an impact, a legacy? He passed away this past year, but he's the whole reason why I'm here. Somebody who inspires me, Carrie Yancer, who heads up she works capturing kids' hearts. Robin Hamasaki, who is working with NASSP, always look to them of like, okay, thought partner, what do you got?
Love it. Thank you very much. We had a fun time there at NASSP. Principal Clark, talk to us.
Oh, well, the person who inspired me to go into education, I hope that she's watching now, Elois Freeman. So she's my godmother. I adopted her as my godmother, and that's how much she meant to me. She taught me and has known me since I was 6, which was not really long ago. But she was the most amazing teacher. She got to know every single student incredibly well, and she saw the gifts in me well before I acknowledged that I had some of those gifts and talents, and she still does that to this day. So that was my inspiration into education. But honestly, I would say what keeps me motivated and inspired now really are the children and my own children, and just thinking about the hope that they provide. And if I can be a part of helping them to be able to make our world better than we're getting ready to leave it for them, then that to me is enough to keep going in every day.
Thank you for sharing.
You know, fellow leaders, I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is my 30th year in the business of education, 21 years in administration. So I feel each year that I'm blessed to be where I am, that I can continuously learn. And things like this make me smile because I'm listening to you guys and you're saying all the things that make me feel good about who I am and why I do what I do. But let's back the train up for a second. Let's talk a little bit about the planning process for 2023-24 as we reflect upon what we did in 22-23. What's the biggest difference? You know, we came out of COVID, had a real good year, 22-23. You know what? We started to get re-regulated. Kids are starting to learn again. Let's talk a little bit about 23-24. What are your big rocks that you're looking at to be able to move the needle in your school, whether it be culture, whether it be data-driven? Talk to us about what you're doing right now, your focal points. And Justin, why don't you start off for us?
Yeah, so this is my first year at Quist Middle School. I'm just moving over to 27J. So we are focusing on improving engagement specifically.
20 years for me at the middle school level as a principal. So I want you to know that. So I'm smiling when you say year number 1. You are on fire.
Well, year number 1 and 27, year 17 as middle school principal. But we are digging into cooperative learning, making sure that the engagement level tier 1 is rock solid. So focusing on PIEs. Positive interdependence, individual accountability, equal participation, simultaneous interaction. Because we all say like, oh, we want engagement, but can we actually define that and move that needle forward? So teachers are rocking and rolling already. We have learning teams of 3 to 4 teachers that are going into each other's classrooms every other week, giving each other feedback, making each other's brains hurt on a regular basis. And then also affirming and acknowledging that this is hard work and celebrating those successes along the way. So it's also, our theme is royals, and it has a lion with the crown on top. So our theme is we rise to the crown, and the crown is high expectation. So I love the piece of like true equity is excellence for all, right? And so if we say something's essential, all means all, and different students need different things, absolutely. But if you keep the crown, we rise to and through the crown. So we're shifting our beliefs, eliminating excuses. But the only way you truly eliminate excuses is coming together, that collective brains coming together to figure this out together, because it is super tough to make 100% an actual thing. But the belief is there. The crown will always be the crown. We have this giant lion with the crown. We rise to and through the crown.
Justin, I'm still stuck on making their brains hurt together collaboratively. That makes me smile, because when teachers come together, that's the greatest power you can ever give to them, when they can see the power within every one of themselves. So good stuff right there. Thank you for sharing it out. Nadia.
So this is my first year at Aria Washington, but I've been a principal this is my 9th year being a principal. So I just left the campus and I was there for 6 years. So I feel like at REL, what we're working on is, first of all, PLCs. So that's our big rock. PLCs, and then also social emotional. That is, to be honest, probably my number one priority. I feel like if we're not taking care of our students, then there's really, that's our main focus for me as a leader. And the next is culture. I'm new. It's a very established campus. It's been, the staff has been together for a long time. I'm the newbie. So that's really where my focus is at. Those are my 3 big rocks.
Love them. Principal Clark.
So my 3 big rocks. One of them, has to do with belonging, and that's one of our district priorities. For us, we match belonging with equity, in the sense that when students feel that they belong, then it's a lot easier to help to make sure that they get what they need. And in addition to adults as well, that they feel a sense of belonging. So making sure that we're really looking at collective teacher efficacy. We need to have teachers feeling like they actually can do this work, that they are there for a purpose, that they can, they created conditions for learning. I heard that in the workshop that I went to this summer, that the adults create the conditions for learning, and that's how we're able to move the needle with student achievement. And so we have to have those things in alignment in order to be able to see progress. And then thirdly, just reading. We need to get our students reading. Our goal is by the end of 2nd grade. That's our vision right now. And really thinking about developing that love of reading, that love of learning, and trying to get moved from that learning to read to reading to learn stage, so that we can really feel the depth and breadth of just the power of learning to read.
Great stuff right there. Assistant Principal Torres.
Awesome. I agree with Principal Clark about the belonging and connecting. So our big rock, I think, is making sure that we get to our kids that aren't our 8 to 5 kids typically. So like we have kids who don't participate in band or athletics. Those kids are there because, for me, that's why I went to school, was for band. Other than that, that was the perk. And so we're trying to figure out other ways to get these kids involved, because when they're there and they feel like it's their school, they're gonna show up and perform. So we have a gaming club now. We have a book club, a cooking club. And so these are teachers' talents that aren't necessarily shown in the classroom. And so now we got those kids who cut out right at 5 or don't feel like they belong here, finding that they have an adult that they can connect with. And they say, man, I want to come to school because I get to do this at school. And so our big thing is making sure that all the kids want to be there and that they're connected with at least one adult.
Nice. Good stuff right there. Josh.
So team, right now, being leadership, and the mass exodus that we have in education, I still can't fill 2 slots. I don't know about you guys. there's still vacancies at our house. And so being a leader is something that really takes a toll on self. And we've had a lot of years of experience under that, correct? At the different chairs that you sat in. So let me ask you a two-part question. When you have a brand new teacher that's alt cert coming in, or someone that you might just hire next week, what can you tell them, or what should you be looking for, or what should a teacher have? Because they're leaders. You know that they're leaders. They can be positive or not positive leaders, but they're leaders. So what does a teacher need to have going in? There might be someone that aspires to that. What are we looking for in leadership in a teacher and at the administrative level? Because probably somebody right now just got hired to be an assistant principal in Iowa. So that first year assistant principal that's going into that chair starting on Monday, what are good characteristics that both should have in their leadership roles? Beto.
I think will versus skill is the thing I focus on the most. I mean, do you have the will to learn, the will to improve, to take feedback? Because you can be the most skillful person, but if you don't got the will, it isn't going to show up in the classroom or in the office with the admin team. So again, I mean, try to be patient with yourself that first year, because we all lack those skills that we got to learn, but keep your will and keep your fire there, because that's what's going to motivate you to thrive and I think survive.
Can you give a little bit more? Because obviously I agree with what you said 1,000%. Yet they have different roles. One is to be a leader of 32 students, 7 students, and one is to help lead a campus. So what would you say in regards to the aspect of sitting in one of the chairs?
Yeah, so for a teacher, again, like I said, I would be patient with yourself, because first years, they want to do the same thing that the veteran teachers are. So be patient and give yourself that grace to learn and to be able to progress. But again, set some realistic goals and have the will to say, like, I'm going to take this feedback. I'm going to learn, but I'm also going to be, especially with those alt certs. Hey, teaching is not your art. It's your science. So again, we got to be able to learn those things that make you capable of doing it. And it's hard to go from an alt cert into the classroom and teach, because the content's there, but just not I would call the art of teaching.
Thank you, Beto. Principal Clark.
So I always talk with my my staff when we are doing hiring about really thinking about the fact that sometimes it's not always going to be balanced between the folks that we find that are highly skilled and know the content really well, and those who actually really love being with students, who actually have the passion to actually want to be with students for 6.5 hours a day. And sometimes I have hired folks who have incredible content knowledge, and I just wondered, and the children, right? So where is that focus? So I always tell them, I can't teach you how to love children. I can teach you how to teach phonics, but I can't teach you how to love children. So you have to come with that, and then we can fill in the gaps later on as we go along.
Got it. What about for the administrative level?
I don't think it's any different, honestly. I really feel like, you have to love this work. I mean, there's no way that we can be in it for 30 years and 27 years if we don't love it, as difficult as it is, as challenging as it is, because you always have to take yourself back and say, okay, yes, this is really hard right now. This is terrible. I was a pandemic principal, as you know. July 1, 2020 is when I started as a principal. And, just knowing that this was not, and reminding myself this is not about me. It is so not about me. It is so about trying to make a difference in the lives of children and helping them to see their own potential. But we're the agents for them to do that. They're not going to often do that without us being there as leaders and as teachers.
Beautiful. Thank you. Nadia?
Yeah, I totally agree with Principal Clark on this one. It's that love of children and, really doing whatever they have to do to give their best to the kids. So one thing that at my previous campus, I did hire a lot of alternative certification teachers. And just because it was a rural district, so we really, we sometimes we did struggle with hiring teachers. I also want to add that I'm very, very low turnover for probably the past 4 years there. I had no turnover. So the last teacher I hired there was 4 years ago. But as an administrator, it's, yes, the teachers have to have that willingness to learn, but as an administrator, you always have to be willing to teach too, and be patient with them. And I think that oftentimes that's not something that you see of a lot of administrators doing. I would often tell my novice teachers, come, let's plan a lesson together. Let's work on this together. And if it took, sometimes it does take long because you're going through the whole process with them. And 6 o'clock in the evening, and you're still there. You have 2 days planned. But that's the work that teaching is. And if I guess you could tell right away, because that this is not what is it, 7:45 to 3 o'clock job. It doesn't work that way. You have to put in the work. And the same thing for an assistant principal, or for anybody, any leadership position, is you have to be willing to do the work, because it is not an easy job, especially now. I think that I look back at this job 10 years ago, and it's changed so much from what we're doing now. It's changed quite a bit. So for anyone wanting to be an assistant principal, it's the same thing. Keep learning, keep working hard, and be that educational leader in your campus. Never stop learning.
Thank you, Nadia. Appreciate that. Justin.
So I'm a big fan of Jimmy Casas and Culturize. So I look for those key things of like being a champion. Do you love kids? Do you believe in them? But at the same time, if you're looking to be an assistant principal, do you love teachers? Do you love working with them? Do you believe in them? I think you should expect excellence. That's why we're going with that. Our main theme of We Rise to the Crown of teachers need to have high expectations for students, and then the belief and the work to do whatever it takes to actually get them there. Same thing with teachers. Like, do you believe that all of our teachers can rise to the occasion to meet all of our scholars' needs? And are you willing to meet them where they're at? If a teacher's not feeling successful or not with scholars, we need to hold up the mirror and figure out like how we can support them better. And if we don't have the answers, reach out instead of the blame game and looking at the perimeter like Jimmy Casas talks about. I'm carrying the banner for the school, how we talk about education. How do teachers talk about what we do? Is it day 120 of teaching kids, or is it, today is a day to truly impact kids every single day? And how do you create this marigold mentality of surrounding yourself with people who will hold you accountable, vent, but then move forward? Same thing with leaders, like coming to things like this, of finding people who will get you back on point, get you away from the edge of the couch like Jimmy Casas talks about. And the last one is just being that merchant of hope of when the leadership gig is about 95% being able to connect with people and relationships. Do you have high emotional intelligence, or do you not? Do you love people, or do you want to just go into your office and hang out there? Do you spend 95% of your time outside of your class or office, or do you find ways to go back and knock out some paperwork? So the game is in the classroom. So a true leader, a good teacher, is not sitting behind the desk. They're working with kids. A good leader's in the classrooms, modeling. Can you actually teach a lesson? If a teacher needed you to teach a lesson, how many principals and APs might freeze up a little bit and say that, I have to teach a lesson. Can I really do that? We got to be able to walk our talk.
Love it. Thank you, brother.
Guys, very quickly thinking back, we want to make sure our kids are regulated and they're able to learn and they're in a good place and they feel balanced. Let's talk about our teachers for a second, though, and the importance of SEL concepts around all of our staff members. I always say to the staff members, family first, make sure you're balanced before you come in. If you need something, come and talk to me, because the kids deserve the best version of you they can possibly have. So from your lens, what do you do in your school to ensure that SEL components are part of your staff's understanding? And let's start off with Principal Clark.
Sorry, it's on mute. That is definitely a work in progress, I will say, for us. But I'm really glad that we have belonging as a linchpin for us as a district, to really kind of remind ourselves that teachers have to feel like they belong as well. And that we are all responsible for that, right? It's not just the leader. Yes, that's important, but it's also their colleagues, and making sure that they are thinking and having self-awareness, right? And having, the self-regulation skills and all of those pieces. But also, like you mentioned, giving opportunities for them to get support and to get help when that is there. And Justin talked about the relationships with teachers, and that's something that's really important to me. And I really try my hardest to make sure that I have good relationships with teachers. But sometimes, yeah, it is tough. But I think that the intentional effort is what they appreciate the most in the small things, right? How was your Labor Day weekend? And, I remember you said that, your dad was ill. How is he doing now? I haven't heard you mention, you know what I mean? Like, it's those really small things, those interactions, that I think can really kind of to boost people up a little bit and say, okay, well, actually, she cares about me as a person, not just as a teacher and employee here.
As Joe Sanfilippo says, we're all in this together, right? Always remember that. Every one of us, from the top to the bottom. Great stuff right there. AP Torres.
Hey, I loved what Justin said too, and Principal Clark. We do capturing kids' hearts at our school, and so it's about that interaction and relationship with the kids. So celebrate the good things. Every time we have a staff meeting, we mail like, guys, tell me some good things going on. In or out of the classroom, and then I think for us, our goal is we try to do 2 by 10. So we try to visit with 2 staff members a day for 10 minutes, and try to really say, hey, just how are things going? Things in the classroom, things at home, things with your kids, and really, like Principal Clark said, is sometimes they just want to talk and just kind of vent a little, or just, share. And, I'm excited to see that teacher say, hey, how's your kid doing? He's playing tonight at the game, and he's number 24, right? And they go, no, he was 23. So you kind of you make that connection. And I think that's the best part, because a lot of our teachers, I think, have their kids in school and they're focusing on every other kid sometimes except their own, and so I really think it's taking that time deliberately to visit with our teachers and celebrate the good things so that they can do the same with their kids, because there's a lot of good things going on in the classroom.
There are, and a lot of times in institutions and schools, we don't know because they're in silos. And if you can't break those silos down and break those barriers down, the good things never permeate out to everybody else. So thanks for saying that. Greatly appreciate it. Nadia, you're up.
Okay, so I don't remember when, but I know it was before the pandemic. I had an opportunity to go to restorative practices. And, that's probably, I have to say, probably one of the best trainings I've ever attended. And I really bought into that. So I came back and I told our teachers, everybody is going to do green circles, and we modeled the circles. So the expectation was that all our teachers were going to implement green circles with their students, right? And I just believed in it so much. I told you I had been with the staff for 6 years, right? So I started doing the green circles with my staff. And, we were close, but I think that just brought us so much closer that I think that it was the best thing for our students, but it was also the best thing for us as a staff, that we really did get to know each other and everybody. And because everybody kind of worked like, the 3rd grade team, the 4th grade team, but they didn't really know each other. and I saw my campus as a whole coming together. So, I still am a firm believer that, restorative practices work. And being at this new campus, we're trying to get that going this year. So we try to devote every Friday we have PD 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Our schedule allows that for all the staff to come together. So every Friday is our opportunity to work on SEL and get to know each other. And I also do a separate one with my leadership team, which has been great. We don't have time sometimes for the 4 questions, but we'll, 2 weeks ago we talked about our first kiss, which is like hilarious, right? It has nothing to do with work, and we just get to know a little bit about each other. I'll tell you guys later about mine.
Okie dokie. Justin, take it from there.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that SEL should be embedded throughout every lesson, everything that we do. So when we get together as a staff, we run our staff meetings exactly like we hope is happening in the classroom. So they sit with their learning teams of 3 to 4 people, truly getting to know each other, learning each other's stories. And we use structures. We use Kagan cooperative learning, even within our staff meetings, of building in team builders. And then also we have 60 staff members. So I'm also building in what I call class builders, but time to interact with each other. So you're building a really strong unit of 4, but also connecting with the larger group of 55. And when you structure those conversations where how do you build SEL in the classroom or with staff, of getting each other to take turns, like we all have been in staff meetings where somebody says, does anybody have anything to share? And you have one person shares, or you say, turn and talk with your neighbor, give you about 30 seconds. And one person speaks for literally 29 and a half seconds. And the next person just says, agreed. So how do we model that? How do we feel what it's truly like to take turns, to praise each other, to greet each other? And we have fun with it, of doing cheers and shout outs, but also like say, turn to your partner and say, hey, you just make my day just brighter every day. Or like, hey, you got a friend in me. And getting middle school kids to do that throughout every classroom. Like some people would say, oh, that's too corny for middle school. Middle school kids love it. But it's really awkward to begin with. Like, how do you greet each other? How do you praise each other? So that creates that vulnerability of truly sharing within your classrooms, and digging into true next level learning. Otherwise, you're never going to get middle school kids to break out of that. So that's a little bit what we're doing.
Great stuff right there, Josh.
So, team, we have conferences out there. They're starting already for us to visit, continue from the summer sessions. You've got social media, you've got podcasts, which are new ways to enhance our learning, both at the classroom level and as leaders. So I present to you, or I ask you all, what do you use as a leader, as an educator, either podcasts, either social media to learn from other educators like Joe Sanfilippo, conferences that you attend to, and how could we make sure, because sometimes our team members in the classroom are a little bit more hesitant than us to use those platforms. So what do you use, and how can we use those great things that are for free? We don't need a PO, for free, to promote that free PD environment out there. We'll start out there with Principal Clark.
So you're talking about just for our own learning purposes as leaders. Okay. So yeah.
And how you could promote that with your staff and other educators.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm a big podcast listener. I feel like I have podcast debt all the time because I'm like, I haven't listened to such and such episode or whatever. So I really do learn a lot from podcasts, and being able to, kind of realize that I'm not alone in certain aspects, and somebody's going through something similar and, may have some great tips. I love going to conferences. I don't get to go as often as I would like. But I do love that. I'm planning to go to, I'm actually hoping to present at the Council Conference in November in Florida. So that is super exciting. And I always love a good ASCD conference. So those are some of the ones that I love. But just a lot of reading. When I do reading professional development books, I will, share those things with staff and either keep a copy or send an email about something. I'm just really trying to remind them that we have to stay learners in this so that we can continue to grow.
Are there any podcasts you'd like to recommend?
Oh my goodness. I don't want to leave anybody out, but definitely school reimagined. Dr. Robin R. Jackson. I love what else do I listen to? Oh, the new the Science of Reading podcast. Really, really appreciate that. I've learned a lot about the science of reading since that has become more popular, if you will, and as a method of teaching reading. So those are a couple that I listen to.
Thank you, Justin.
So my go-tos are Principal Kafele. If you're not watching that, where have you been? Get on that. I think it was 180 episodes, and I wish he wouldn't say virtual AP and new principal. Like I'm year 17, and it makes my brain hurt literally every week. So dig into that. But also, how do you encourage your APs, deans, and upcoming teacher leaders, and just teachers who might not ever want to be in administration because you need a school full of leaders, and you don't need the title in order to be a leader. But how I go in and I'm like, let's watch this together, or I'll show mini clips to get people thinking within our staff meetings. I also love Jimmy Casas' work, the Edge of the Couch podcast. If you haven't been watching that, of course, watch you guys. So this, shout out to you guys. You guys are bringing it. And it's moving the needle forward by influencing others, but also like, don't let people say, this is not for me. Absolutely, this is for you. And then let's do this together. Don't just say, hey, here's a book, check it out. Let's read it together. We'll make each other's brain hurt.
Awesome, love it. Thank you for the flowers there, Justin. Beto.
Oh, I love Principal Kafele too. I just saw him at TASP, and I saw Josh there at TASP, so he probably doesn't know, but I watched him all the time, followed him on Twitter, and then I got to see him, and I was like a nerd. I showed up first into a session. I was like, oh man, I've seen you on Twitter all the time. So I definitely am a big fan of using Twitter and then sharing those things with the teachers. Like I'm the one to bust off emails, say, hey, I typed in this tweet on an ed tech hack. Why don't you try it? So on my Spotify podcast, Ed Duct Tape, I'm real big on the instructional stuff. So that's really where I find a lot of my good ideas to stay sharp and keep my saw there honed, is really looking at those podcasts on teaching practices and looking for those, especially those ed tech hacks, because again, a lot of our teaching has gone to the iPad or to the Chromebook. And so some of our veteran teachers who have been real skilled are struggling because there's this new device and they're like, well, does this replace me? No, it's just to enhance. So I really recommend for any teacher, get on and type in tips and tricks, because really that's what our forte is. The teachers, we got a big tool bill and we want to make sure that they can have as much access to it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Beto. Nadia.
Well, Twitter, I do a lot of Twitter. You know what, I've been trying to kind of balance it out because sometimes it is hard. You get off work late, and sometimes social media does kind of consume a lot of my time. And that, that's not good when your kids are trying to talk to you and you're on tweeting or whatever. So I've been trying to do a little bit less. But one thing that I find that, and I've gone to conferences, and I take a team of teachers with me, and of course that's a great experience. But one thing that I feel that is very, very powerful is I had the opportunity to go to the Harvard Leadership Academy last summer through the Charles Butt Foundation, and it was a week of just dedicated to my learning. I told my family, please do not call me. I'm going to be like a college student. I want to just focus on myself and my learning. So that was a really great experience. But the best part about it was that I met several principals, and we still, I mean, we text every single day since we met. We came back and we text every single day. And if there's something, if somebody's having, you know, anything that they need help with, or that they just need just a pick me up, sometimes you have those bad days, that you just want to share with some colleagues, and it is just, we just text each other. And I could honestly say that that is the best thing, is just building those connections with people. And they're not, there's a few from El Paso, but they're from all over Texas, and we've maintained really strong friendships through this past year. So that's the best for me. And I encourage my teachers to do the same. Like, reach out. You don't have to be at the same campus. Reach out to other teachers. Don't feel like because they're not at this campus, you can't collaborate and, share, I don't know, different things. Make your job easier.
Thank you.
When I'm listening to you say that, Nadia, my 20 years plus as a principal at a middle school reminded me of collaborative practice and, coming together with PLCs and sharing ideas and just building a real strong infrastructure to support student learning. And it's so huge. As I migrated to the high school this year, it's a different story. And it's not that they don't know it. It's just their schedules are different. And they've worked more in silos, and they don't know what they don't know. And as an educational leader, breaking those walls down, breaking those barriers down is probably the greatest challenge that we all have, because there's great power in the colleagues that are around each other. And I'm glad I'm hearing you guys say all those things, and the relationships that you build and those connections that you build. Now I have this question coming up, but before I do that, I want you to take 20 seconds for me and go around the room right here. When you look at your faculty meetings, what do you do differently besides having them read an agenda or listen to you hear an agenda from you? Tell me what you, in your mind, how you use faculty meetings in a different way, because I think this is important for any administrator that's out there. I don't use faculty meetings as traditional. I'm going to stand in front of you. I'm going to regurgitate what I have on an agenda, because I don't want to insult the intelligence of people. They can do that. I've always looked at them as an opportunity to build something that it's in the contract, so I'm going to use it to my advantage. So talk to me how you guys view your faculty meetings. And let's start off with Assistant Principal Torres.
I think we use it as a learning opportunity. So it's a great time for us to take time in our staff meetings to highlight a teacher and say, hey, Ms. Holman, you're rocking and rolling on this platform. Just give us 10 minutes and show us what you're doing that other teachers, like you said, aren't in your classroom because we're so much in a silo. So tell me, just give me the 10-minute spotlight that you're doing, because I guarantee somebody's going to see and say, man, that's the missing piece for my classroom. So we take it as a time to spotlight the teachers and say, hey, show us what you got, because, man, I wish everyone would get to see you as much as we get to see you in the classroom.
Boom, Google Doc that, put that in a shared doc for everybody to see. I love it right there. Principal Clark, go.
Two things. One, I like to try to use structures that teachers can, lift and play next day, right? Something that they can use in their classrooms to model that, and then sort of talk about, we just did this activity. How do you think this could, work for your students in your context? The second thing is, again, with that relationship building, and it's giving them some very intentional time to talk with one another. But particularly, I like to do a lot of cross grouping so that they are not necessarily interacting with the teachers that they have on their team, but to get to know other folks, first grade teachers, knowing fourth grade teachers. So that's those are two of the things that I like to do for my meetings, but always as a learning activity as much as possible.
I've actually inventoried my staff, asking what they want to learn more of, which I found very important and a great way to go about getting it ready. Nadia, you're up.
So ours are very short. We keep them 30 minutes long.
Well,
and I actually hate to speak in public. But I try not to be the one up there. So I have a team, my leadership team is, if we have something to present with technology, and then the same thing, something that the teachers could take back to their classrooms and implement immediately. If it's something that I could do in an email, then that will not be discussed during the meeting.
Love it. Practical use of time, make it relevant. Good stuff right there. Justin.
Yeah, all staff meetings should be modeled after what we, expect within our classroom. So in a great classroom, a teacher shouldn't be up the front going through slides and doing that kind of stuff. So how do you build ownership and engagement? How do you involve others? How do you give equal voice within that time? We should model the way, and also model vulnerability as we're trying out some of these strategies that are not so easily done in practice. So it's how does it actually look greeting our staff at the door, just like we want our teachers to greet scholars as they're coming in the door in meaningful ways? How do we build culture and climate in that time? And ours are 40 minutes long, so model the way.
Good stuff right there. We have 60 minutes. But again, I love that you say, treat it as a classroom. These are your students. The teachers are your students. Model it when you can. And I'll tell you what, that's a very powerful way to look at it as well. Josh?
You got the last question, bro. You just said
No, I thought you were going to take it from there.
No, you got it.
Oh, you want me to take that last one?
You can't do that to me in the middle of a...
All right. In 30 seconds,
world?
a message to any new educator this year that you want to give to them. Let's go, and let's start off this time with Justin. Go.
I'd say keep the belief, be that merchant of hope, that believe that no scholar wants to set off the fire alarm twice in 1 week. They just lost their way. Let's bring them back. Same thing with teachers. If they're struggling with classroom management, no teacher wants to struggle with classroom management. Believe that they want to become better. We hold up the mirror, and we need to figure out how to support them.
Boom, drop the mic. Nadia, go.
Oh goodness. We do an activity, and I've done it at every campus I've been at with the staff, and I always tell teachers to share their favorite teacher. Tell us about your favorite teacher. And it is just amazing when they're talking and they remember how that teacher made them feel, and it's just you could see it. So teachers have so much power. I mean, we could be talking about them 40 years later, and we'll still remember how our kinder teacher made us feel, how our first grade teacher made us feel.
Right. You're right.
And it is a gift. It is a gift to be working with kids, and not for them not to forget that.
Way to build the power around the teacher. I love it right there. Principal Clark.
So for new teachers, I would say, one, get to know your kids, get to know your students, know who they are. Our district has a theme, name, strength, and story. That we will know our kids by name, strength, and story. And I really embrace that. I sort of champion that and emphasize it. But not just our students, get to know your colleagues by name, strength, and story as well. All around, that's what's going to create the sense of belonging. But the other thing too that I'm really kind of thinking a lot about, especially with my newer educators and those who are new to the building, is to see the student that is in front of them right now, but to really imagine that student doing something amazing in the world and coming back to be able to tell you about it. I think we have to start doing that more often, instead of just looking at the student and where they are and what their struggle is right now and all of that. Like, yes, it's all real, but let's look at and think about where they could go and where we could be a part of taking them.
The power of believing right there. Absolutely perfect. Assistant Principal Torres.
Awesome. To my first year educators, we love you, we value you, and you're complete. And so every kid needs a champion. And I think we've heard that before. So you're their champion. And I love what Justin said, rise to the crown, because again, we're going to make champions. So again, teachers, be that for your kids, be a champion.
Perfectly said right there. Josh.
And there we go. Would like to thank everyone for being here tonight. Texas, Massachusetts, Colorado, go Buffalo. Best of luck, everybody. If you already started school, Best of luck. Keep on going. Keep on thriving. On fire. If you haven't started school, why? We're already into week 5. What's wrong with you? Where are you? What are you doing? But you know what? We scored another touchdown today, Dean Packard. Another touchdown on the red zone. But hey, Dean, it's not over. It's not over. This Sunday, the flagship show, 7 p.m. Eastern with Mr. Chaz Perez. Chaz Perez will be joining us on the flagship show, 7 p.m. Eastern. Take it away, Dean Packard.
Hey, I want to thank you, Principal Clark, Assistant Principal Torres, Nadia, and Justin. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It makes a difference when people come to the table and talk about the things that just make us a little bit better. And you guys did that tonight. You delivered with integrity, with value, and with fire, and that's why your schools are what they are. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, all you out there, make sure that you put kids' interests first, because that's why we do what we do. Have a great rest of the week, guys, and enjoy your Friday tomorrow. Staff, stay on.